So I'm going to say this with every last bit of well-meaningness in my heart to you. Please don't ever adopt a turtle. I made this mistake 2 years ago when a friend was leaving the country and she passed on her baby red-eared sliders to me. And I took it because the other option was she was going to throw it into Sukna Lake. And I did my research and I realized that these turtles are very harmful for our native wildlife, and I kept them. They were a nightmare. They need vitamin D for their shell, so I had to get these special bulbs, and suddenly I was spending more on bulbs than on my bras. Then they need special vitamin A supplements. They need live insects, which I was importing from Chennai, and then I was feeding those insects so I could feed the turtles. And it was like a poop factory had exploded in my house constantly. No matter how many filters I bought, it was a disaster. And there was a point at which I genuinely said, look, it doesn't matter, just release them. You know, all the turtles have to die anyways, sooner or later, it's okay. What will two do? But the truth is, it's a lot more than two that's getting into our systems in various parts of the country. And that's my first question. With all these exotic pets that are coming into our country, how do we protect our species?
So I'd like to start by asking you, Shronali, what did you do with the turtle?
They died from vitamin A deficiency.
Oh.
Their eyes burst one day. It was traumatic.
Okay. So good they died naturally, because otherwise, if you had released the turtle in the pond somewhere near your house, it would have thrown the entire ecosystem of that particular pond out of gear. And if there were certain indigenous turtles in those small ponds, that turtle would have definitely pushed it out of the system. It's as simple as that, because the exotic species are so aggressive, because they're coming from a different state. Think about migrants who come over. When they start in one place, and then they're moved out of their own place of residence, and they go back to another place, they survive. It's not easy surviving in a foreign territory. So Indians going, suppose students, I've seen Indian students from India when they're going to US, to UK, abroad, anywhere, the amount of effort, the fight, the resilience they show. Similarly, any exotic species which is introduced into our system is a lot more resilient than even in its own country. So the more resilient species, what happens? It pushes the indigenous species out of the system. And introduction of these exotic species have led to the position where our own indigenous turtles have gone into the endangered list, and it has gone into the CITES appendix list also. Because turtles, when you are importing them from any foreign countries and are keeping them here, especially the red-eared slider turtles, they grow huge. And once it grows, as you say, that you can't manage, so the easiest thing people do is that they don't want to kill them or cull them, as we call it. They, out of compassion, they release them in a pond, which is nearby. आसपास के कोई तालाब में हम जाके छोड़ के आए. So they think that doing it is an act of compassion, but what exactly they're doing is that they're killing the particular ecosystem. So if you're going to a hotel, the fish on your plate, which once upon a time would have been a mahaseed, once upon a time would have been a bhetki. Now all you are eating is a pangas. You don't know that you are eating pangas because it is so close to the original bhetki and the bhetki hybrids. It grows in tons and tons. So gradually you are paying the same price for a fish, which is not, suppose the fish actually costs 200 rupees, and a bhetki costs 1,000 rupees, you are paying 2,000 rupees for eating a 200 rupees fish. Because the pangas has moved the bhetki out of the system, out of the economics of the country. So any exotic species, now we are developing legislations for importing these species and also taking care of these species as well as introducing these species into our system. Exactly the way you think about refugees entering your country and they are taking over. We have seen this in UK where the entire East European refugees have gone in and they've taken over. So that it's a lot like that when they basically take over. And a country like India, which is a mega diverse country, we have 7% of the global biodiversity in India. As on date, we have 105,416 species in our country. And we have only 2% of the global land mass. Still, we have 7% of the biodiversity globally, and in spite of the fact that we have the highest population in the whole world. So that we have not eaten everything out, it goes kudos to us. We should clap for ourselves that we still have this amount of biodiversity left in us. So my thing is that we don't bring in more new species, however well they look like, however attractive they are, people are doing it. But now the government have introduced a positive list where you are including those species which are not ecologically going to push the indigenous species out of the system. They will try to remain within their carrying capacity. Less than their carrying capacity, will not breed. So that end of the day, like you've heard about the African catfish. So all you are eating is tilapia, is an African catfish which has basically taken over the local ponds as well as the local markets. And that is the same thing which goes into your food system because of the excessive development in the food industry. What fish you're having on your plate, you don't know, because the way it is now being processed and treated.
And we're Bengalis, so we care a lot
Yes,
about
so
our fish.
I'm sorry, Delhi, I don't think all of you eat fish, but because I'm a Bengali, so, you know.
It matters.
Yeah, it matters a lot to us that we have the right fish at the right season and the right time on the right plate. So that's the reason but this is one of the most common examples which I could give so that I can explain, since I guess most of you are not a scientist or coming from a background of biology like I am.
So I'm really glad you talked about our biodiversity, because it is something to feel proud of and something that's amazing. But for a lot of this diversity to remain, we need certain specialized land and certain specialized areas, and mangroves, coastal reefs, wetlands particularly. These are very important, and open field areas for certain birds as well. Those are shrinking. So do you think we'd be able to save them? Because they really are shrinking at an alarming rate.
We have started. You know, when you said this, yes, I do admit that these ecosystems are are stressed out. The coral reefs, the coastal ecosystems, the mangroves, they are stressed out. But we are doing our best bit to conserve them. It's not easy, as I go back and say. We have the diversity which we have. It's difficult, and it is a very, what would I say, an exhaustive effort on part of the government to conserve this, and we are trying to do our bit in every possible way. As on date, we have 82 Ramsar sites, which is the wetlands. You know, they're now Ramsar sites, they're the heritage sites, and they're also called as now Amrit Dharohars because of the ecosystem services they provide. Not only like they harbor a unique ecosystem, but also for the ecosystem services they provide. So these Ramsar sites on 2047 or the Viksit Bharat deadline which we have, we are supposed to increase it by 100. So that is a way we are trying to protect them. For coral reefs and mangroves, there have been extensive work on protecting and conserving both the coral reefs and the mangroves. These conservation does not start with the ministry or does not start with the scientists who are working in them. I come from Zoological Survey of India and the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. So our job is to go and do research in the field and generate the baseline data. On the basis of the baseline data, what we have seen, the ministry forms informed policies for conservation. What we have seen that in the mangroves, especially in Sundarbans, as well as in the Odisha Bhitarkanika, as well as in Pichavaram, there is a community-led conservation effort, which has become one of the major mainstay of conservation. So conservation starts from protection. even if the ecosystems, specialized ecosystems are stressed out, but extensive conservation measures are taken up. 5,000 square kilometers of mangroves and 5,700 square kilometers of coral reef is what India possesses, which is a blessing for us because of the services they provide. It also is a blessing for us in the sense that it raises the stature of India as a protector of biodiversity. As we know, we play a very important role in the COP, for the biodiversity COPs also. And this protection has been taken up very distinctly. There is, for the mangrove, we have the Mishti program for protection of shoreline habitats and for generating tangible incomes for those communities who are residing in the mangrove areas. You must have heard of Sundarbans, you must have heard about the conflicts, how difficult lives of people who are residing there. In the coastal ecosystem also, especially also coral reef, we in Zoological Survey of India, we have basically translocated 23,000 coral reef colonies in the Gulf of Kutch to a different area, and we have grown them up. In fact, it is now, I mean, there's no video, so I couldn't have shown, you would have been amazed. Like when they are like gardens which you create in the sea. You'll be transplanting the coral reefs on the seabed, on the bare rocks, and you could see the reefs growing. Gradually, once the reef starts grow, the different fishes, they start coming in, and then the different other marine fauna also comes inside. So these are the activities which the government has taken up, along with the different institutions in our country, like the Zoological Survey of India, the NCSCM, the Ministry of Environment, Forest, as well as several NGOs who are working together, that there is a concerted effort in protection. But for everybody who is sitting here, we should know that it's important, you must be going for tourism purposes there. So be responsible when you are going there and do your bit for conserving. There will be a lot of entrepreneurs here, so do your bit as a part of the CSR for funding initiatives at the local and the community level. So there's these small community groups which are protecting these areas, these fragile ecosystems. They can take the benefit of because the government has a limitation of pumping in funds. So we would be looking forward for individuals as well as CSR funds to be pumped into the system. The more the merrier. Jitna gur utna mithas. So as you say, the more funds we have, the better is the conservation efforts. Thank you.
Yeah. Dhriti, you're not just contributing towards protecting our species, but also towards challenging gender norms, because you are the first woman director of the Zoological Survey of India. What has your journey been like?
Okay, so Zoological Survey of India, we are 110 years old this year. So since the inception was in 1916, and in 105 years, I was the first woman to be selected as a director. Thank you. The interesting bit was, when I was selected to be the director and when I got my offer letter, it didn't strike me anything unusual at all. But when it came in the newspapers, then I realized, oh my God, this is something big. Then I am the first woman in 100 years. But as you say, I mean, like breaking the glass ceiling or the gender bias, I would say that my office, the headquarter office, the first floor is a power center where all the directors, the finance, the admin, the director, and the admin sits. There was no ladies' toilet. So I first basically constructed a ladies' toilet. So think about an organization, 110 years, but it didn't have a ladies' toilet in the first floor. So, but interestingly, I have to say, in 1949, we had a lady scientist. She was called as Mrs. Mansukhani, and the kind of job we do is not like sitting in the office and working. We go out in the field. We go high up in the Himalayas, from Ladakh to Kanyakumari, as I say, from the northeast of Arunachal Pradesh to here Ladakh, and from down in the sea, under the sea, coral reefs, mountain shores, coastal areas, deserts, everywhere we go and work. So she had been going out and working with men in 1949 in a team where all were men and she was the only woman. So kudos to the family who had allowed her to go there. Because it is interesting to know that 1949, a family allowing a lady to go out on a survey for a month, because that time there were no planes, no trains, only buses. We used to basically, they used to go walking and through local buses and local trains. So for a survey period lasting for a month, where you need to stay in camps, stay in places where there may be only 1 or 2 rooms available. So you may have to share a room with your men colleagues, and that family had allowed her to go and do that. So however much we say that, okay, we are not as emancipated as we think, we were more emancipated. But the only thing is that it is surprised that our organization never got to have a female director. So that took another 50 years for a lady to be chosen as a director. So as you say, that it's very important for a country like ours that women to be in leadership positions. Otherwise, you don't pull other women up. It's very important that women, if they are on the top, the first thing they would do, they will be supporting and trying to pull a person who is lower down the rung up, so that they also can create an ecosystem where there'll be more. I have been doing it instinctively, or I would say just because I think they say, okay, madam, you're biased. I am biased, fine. But then I also go with that same tagline that in 100 years, I am the first woman. So the next thing I say, I should not be the only woman for the next 150 years. And in the level of field of environment, I think sustainability always happens in the hands of women. So if women are not holding your hands, you never make this world sustainable. And also, today, as on date, India is still a developing country, how much we say. So it is in the hands of you sitting here. You have to make it into a developed country in the next 50 years to come. Maybe in the next 10 years, before 2047, it should be the women who will be able to make India a developed country. So that transition has to be done by you.
And you know, it is a lot more than just the tagline, because, and I thought I'll wait till the end to share this with you, but my friend's daughter loves earthworms. And she keeps saying, oh, what will you do with earthworms? You know, study math. And she took a news clipping of your position and said, I will be this. So it does help. And thank you. Thank you so much for sharing.
So here, I would like to add one line, because there are so many ladies here. That's a very small example I always give. That suppose you're sitting with your family, or barish ke din hai, you're having pakora on the plate. So everybody is instinctively watching TV and picking up one piece. And there is only one piece left. Instinctively, you put your hand, your daughter also puts your hand. So what happens? The mother will pull her hand back and allow the son or the daughter to have the last bit. This is what sustainability is. You protect, you preserve your future, not for yourself, but for your next generation, but for posterity. That is your role in this country, in this world, and in this environment. Thank you so much.